Hi, Attorney Steve here. We're here talking about DRE licensing issues, discipline issues. Okay, you get that dreaded letter or the dreaded phone call that you're under investigation, that there's going to be an audit, and you're wondering, what's going to happen? What are my options? What are the types of discipline things that could happen? I put up here on the real estate whiteboard, Attorney Steve's real estate whiteboard, just a couple of the different things that can happen, what you can expect, what are the different types of options that could arise in your case. These are the typical, what I call the possible outcomes when you face an accusation. If you get an accusation, usually an accusation comes after the investigation or the audit. They want to see if you've done something wrong. Usually that's driven by a complaint, but not always. It could be random. But you get the accusation, you're freaking out, you don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to lose my license? What do I need to do? These are the types of things that you may see. One, and this is going from best to worst, one possible outcome is you can try to get the DRE to withdraw the accusation if by chance they made a mistake. Normally they don't. Normally they're pretty articulate in the way they go about investigating and prosecuting things. But in certain examples, you may have a case where somebody was overcharged or they weren't the right person or there's just a mistake. You try to get the accusation withdrawn. That's one possibility. And normally, by the way, these come up after the accusation is filed. If you hire an attorney like myself, California real estate attorney, to get in, we can obtain the file from the Department of Real Estate. We can see what's going on. You can submit a notice of defense and let them know that you have some challenges and you want to fight this. Typically, that's the route you want to go. At that time, we can try to negotiate a settlement for you, propose a settlement that will get you one of these different options. So the first thing we might be looking at is withdraw the accusation. If there's a total mistake, they've got the wrong person, so forth and so on. From there, maybe you can get away with an approval, a public approval, or a corrective letter, basically admitting to the things that were wrong, fixing them, some minor things. That's a possibility. But really where a lot of the cases fall into line, I would say, are right in here. This is kind of the bread and butter where most cases fall in. Right here, a suspended license. You could be looking at a 90-day suspension, which is very typical. Often when this scenario arises, you see an opportunity to do a 60-day, what they call a stayed suspension. It's stayed, meaning you don't have to serve it, assuming you don't violate any other real estate laws and whatnot. And often under this scenario, they'll offer a 30-day buyout where you can actually buy out your suspension by paying a monetary penalty. Let's just say anywhere from $1,000 to maybe $3,000. So that's an option to get a suspended license with a 60 and a 30-day buyout. Where also a lot of other cases come into play is this restricted broker. So if you have a broker license, you've done some things wrong, some violations, they may want to restrict your broker's license. And when they do that, oftentimes what they do is they add some of these other requirements that you're going to have to do in addition to accepting a suspended license and doing the buyout. You may also be having to take continuing education units. You may have to pay the cost of audit if you had a trust account violation. They found, fail to reconcile, shortages, those kinds of things, fail to keep records, commingling. You can wind up paying the cost of the audit. How much is that? Depends how many days they were out there looking through your books. Typically a couple $1,000s on up to $10,000 or more. So you pay the cost of audit with a restricted broker license. If you have quote-unquote victims, if you had people that were complaining, that were entitled to their money back, you may be required to pay restitution. Oftentimes you will be required to pay restitution to the victims of whatever the case was, like in loan modifications, failure to refund the money that you owed them and whatnot. So those kind of things. When you have trust account violations, you're also going to see a requirement of a trust account course and going back and refreshing it, learning the right way to handle a trust account. Remember, it's other people's money. It's not your money. You have to be able to manage it responsibly and account for it responsibly. So this is the big thing that they're looking for, especially in the loan modification field and the property management field. Big red flags right now. They're out looking. They've got a lot of field auditors and investigators looking into this right now. So if you're a broker and you've done some things wrong, we would fight to try to keep it with a broker's license, meaning you can still run and manage a company, you're the broker, but you have these kinds of things. From there, if you have some violations that are a little more drastic, they may want to do a restricted sales license, taking you from a broker to a salesperson. Now you have to go hang your license with a broker. So obviously that's not real desirable, so we fight to keep you here in the restricted status. And finally, after the restricted sales, which may also include some of these items that we discussed over here, usually not the cost of the audit, that would be something the broker would pay, but you can see yourself taking continuing education units, paying restitution, those kinds of things. Finally, if it's something that's, they deem to be, you shouldn't have a real estate license, you don't know what you're doing, you're a danger to the public, you don't follow the rules and regulations, you may be looking where they just want to outright take your license and revoke it. This is where you end up going to a hearing, or even here you have a right to go to a hearing in front of the Office of the Administrative Hearing, OAH, and have an administrative hearing to fight for a restricted broker or whatnot. So these are the things we fight for. The final thing is a bar order. This is when you've done something really bad, fraud to the highest degree, you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, danger to the public. They can issue what's called a bar order, 36 months, no practicing real estate, and they may have it where you may not even associate with a real estate company, so you can't even stay affiliated in this business. That's a drastic measure, but it does happen. These are the kinds of things. So what we normally have in the settlement situation is where the DRE may be thinking that you're one of these two, either revoke your license or they want to put you to a restricted sales, and we're trying to fight for this. So they want this, we want this, we want this, and it's all a matter of fact. It's really dependent on the facts of your case, what you did, the accounting, all the things that came out, the totality of the circumstances. But this is why you would want to hire a DRE defense lawyer like myself to review your case, get in there. Oftentimes brokers will have me and salespeople will have me represent them, show up at the audit, make sure that it's conducted fairly, make sure that you're giving accurate answers, make sure you understand the questions. When you're signing things, making sure that we know what we're signing, because all this becomes part of the record that they will use against you to get you down here. We want you up here, and of course to try to minimize these things to the extent we can. So Steve Vondran, this is the Real Estate Whiteboard, possible outcomes when facing an accusation. Real quick, I'm just going to tell you we're going to post another blog on 2 of the new laws that are out, which could add, actually I'm going to talk about the one which could add penalties to this. A new law just came out, I believe it's active in June or July of this year, 2012, gives the DRE power to impose $2,500 fines for violations of the real estate law. So this is significant. So if you're thinking about, we don't always know what we're doing, get a broker counsel, get someone like myself to act as your corporate attorney, so you're not making the kinds of mistakes that are going to lead to $2,500 fines, suspensions, costs of audit, and those kinds of things. So this is Attorney Steve Vondran, California real estate attorney. Let me know if you need some help. You can give us a call, 877-276-5084. It's 877-276-5084, or Google me, AttorneySteve.net. Type in Attorney Steve. I'll come on up there, AttorneySteve.net. Thank you, and we look forward to speaking with you. Appreciate it.